pulled up Thai massage. I actually went here and paid in crypto here, guys. This is a great place. I'm gonna shill Erewhon Thai massage in Roppongi. They walk on your back and crack
I
your
was
neck.
about to ask that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a back walking.
I had like a foot issue where I was you're walking around in Tokyo all the time. And then I don't know, I just like progressively got this like foot pain for like a long time. And I told the lady, I got something weird with my foot, if you're down there beating things up, see what you can do to that area. And then at some point she cracked this like bone in the middle of my foot that I'd never had it cracked before. And immediate like, just peace, just bliss. That was beautiful.
Reminded me of Mortal Kombat.
It gave me Mortal Kombat vibes. Yeah.
The Mortal Kombat thing.
Are we fighting? Should we start like just slapping each other?
Welcome back, everyone, to Token Narratives with Bitcoin.com. I'm Graham, the master of shill, hosting the show because I have nothing of substance to say in the actual discussions. Co-hosting here, we have David, our autistic news product lead and resident educator. And we also have Corbin, who is Dark Lord of the Bitcoin.com realm. And this is episode 5 of Token Narratives. Today, we're going to be diving into merchant adoption in the crypto space, looking at recent trends, growth predictions from industry experts, our anecdotal experiences, and of course, our hot takes. But first, let's discuss some of the biggest news in the crypto space this week. Starting off, we have Donald Trump news, who continues to be courting the U.S. crypto voter contingent, this time with positive statements about Bitcoin mining. Let me just bring up this article here.
Maybe while we're pulling that up, we should mention we're live across like several platforms. This is the first time we've done this, I think, correctly. We've tried a couple of times, but it's been like, 4 monkeys trying to screw in a light bulb. But Twitter Spaces, YouTube, Facebook, I don't know what else we're on. Maybe a couple other.
In theory, it's all working.
In theory, we're going to hang.
So what happened this week was that Trump met with some of the biggest Bitcoin miners in the US. And the quote that went most viral was, "We want all the remaining Bitcoin to be made in the USA. It will help us be energy dominant." Now, for most of Bitcoin's history, as you guys know, the narrative has been that Bitcoin mining is bad, or at least the mainstream narrative. And of course, China famously banned Bitcoin mining several times. Other countries and local jurisdictions have put restrictions on it, including Canada, Sweden, some states in the US. Recently, we had news from Venezuela and Paraguay, where they've been confiscating Bitcoin miners. So I thought it'd be interesting to discuss here with Trump's stance. Are we about to see a shift in the global stance on Bitcoin mining? Is there about to be a global race to mine the remaining Bitcoin? You guys have any thoughts on this?
I mean, at first glance, it does kind of seem kind of silly and like nationalistic to say, that Bitcoin mined, a specific region is somehow going to be better than Bitcoin mined in other regions. Maybe if you're like one of those ESG fart sniffers, you might kind of go in and say that's, we want more clean Bitcoin versus blood Bitcoin that's made with coal power or something like that. So that might be one stance, but I kind of feel like the nationalistic stance hasn't been fully explored. So I'm kind of all for it. Like I like the idea of miners potentially being like hyped up about, this is an American-made Bitcoin. It's made in America, and technically they could do this. They could, any miner, if you find, if you're fortunate enough to get the block, you won the competition amongst all the miners, and you solved the riddle first. You get to imprint something in the Coinbase header, and in theory, you could smash American emojis in there to be like, America, fuck yeah. And that would, in theory, be completely okay. I don't know if people will fully buy it because I mean, you could have people making Bitcoins and putting stuff in the Coinbase header from like, I don't know, Venezuela, and also trying to like say like, yeah, this block and all the Bitcoin that was released from it is also American. So then you got like fake American made Bitcoin blocks. So that becomes also a bit of a challenge to kind of like truly verify. But I'm for it, man. If it gets countries on board with like competing to solve more or to secure the network and get them hyped up to say, you know, our Bitcoins are better than like Russian Bitcoins, you know, whatever. If people want to take that stance and cheer that game on, I'm for it, man. Whatever helps support crypto and Bitcoin, I think it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is mostly just, you know, obviously Trump is pandering, but and I could see maybe one day this becoming a real thing. You know, if Bitcoin has a big run up and becomes very, very, very valuable, and governments started getting serious about whole, you know, custodying this as opposed to gold. So yeah, this definitely could be like a trend. But at the moment, I just, you know, this seems like Trump kind of putting everything, the stamp of America on everything. And I saw some comments on Twitter talking about some of the other things that Trump said, which were kind of nonsensical about Bitcoin mining. And the take on that was that he kind of clearly doesn't really understand the technology and is just throwing things out there, which is fine. That's totally fine. But it is it does, it does seem that he's trying to make it nationalistic, which is I'm all for too, Corbin. I think that's awesome. And I could see some people being like, yeah, I'm going to buy a Bitcoin and I'm willing to pay a little extra to have it be an American Bitcoin, which I think is awesome because I'm an American. Yeah, so this could be a trend. And then to the larger point, yeah, I do think that other countries will start to get more serious about this. Like, obviously, you're showing this Russia story. It's kind of, you know, for forward-thinking governments, could be an opportunity, right? To get Bitcoin and to grow their internal industry. I think, you know, Nick Carter has a lot of good stuff on this. How Bitcoin mining can support energy grids and stuff like that. So a lot of positives to getting Bitcoin mining on the right side of like government regulation and kind of promoting it. So I'm all for this aspect of the Trump story and this Russia story.
I mean, yeah, Trump does tend to pander. You know, he's known for his dog whistles, so that's good. That'll get people hyped up in theory. I don't know. Graham, are we
at least
insane?
It's obvious.
Do you picture your Canadian Prime Minister saying we're going to have Canadian Bitcoins?
I didn't think of it so much as a like the angle you guys were talking about, where these Bitcoins are actually made in the US, right? I just thought of it more as like it's an industry that a country can benefit from, and so that's the angle, really. And
yeah,
just like any industry, like countries are trying to get into AI or whatever, right? The Bitcoin mining is another industry that makes sense. And then yeah, he said they want the US to be energy dominant, or Bitcoin helps the US become energy dominant. Now, yeah, it's likely he doesn't really understand how that works. As you say, it's just like a pandering, a dog whistle thing. Okay, you have to use the word energy dominant in your speech, and that the Bitcoiners will understand that. So should we explain how that actually works? How could Bitcoin mining help a country become energy dominant? Because countries are shutting it down, saying that it's a strain on their energy resources. But here they're saying Trump is saying the opposite, and Bitcoiners have been saying the opposite for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think if I was a piece of shit country, or like the dictator of a piece of shit country, or I don't know, some somewhat elected, kind of like put the finger on the scale, elected president of a nation, I'd be like, hey, all right, guys, this is what we're doing. Bitcoin's one of our currencies. Let's go. That old thing we got, that's a piece of shit. That was a shit coin. Let's move on from that. And then I would probably start pandering as well to like the sovereign wealth funds that want to invest in a pro Bitcoin economy. And then we would, hopefully my dumpster country also has some opportunities at like clean energy. You'd want like hydro, solar, wind, wave, something that's really going to get those like sovereign wealth funds real like, licking their lips, ready to get that slurp, thinking like we got some ESG opportunities, we're going to make some money, it's clean looking, and then we're going to build some power plants and some facilities, offshore wave harnessing, Bitcoin powered economies, and they're just going to get extremely excited over that. And then I think you've got that opportunity to say we're one of these Bitcoin friendly nations. You've got some countries like Canada pumping up their capital gains tax rate, so anyone trying to sell their crypto is going to get a little wrecked over there. But in your country, you're saying no cap gains on crypto, let's go. Yeah, you might be able to create like an opportunity for your people and create a bit of momentum around it. I think El Salvador, for instance, has been one great example of kind of banging that drum. They've done really well, and I think like from a PR standpoint, optics look good. They got a better economy. They got less crime. They got a cool president with a fun name. I think that type of playbook could be easily emulated, and I think more economies may want to explore that, given this kind of, say, nationalistic Bitcoin mining drum that's currently being banged by Trump. But I expect more to join. I mean, and maybe we can't even say Trump started it, because truthfully, Bukele, he kicked it off, man, with like volcano mining. Like that was his meme, right? It was like, we're gonna mine Bitcoins with our volcano geothermal. It's a great narrative, and I think that was kind of their playbook, where it got people talking. I don't think they're actually mining Bitcoins yet with volcano power, but in theory they could, with enough time and investment into their infrastructure, and it could happen.
But yeah, I mean, I think that last point is kind of key, which is, this kind of large scale industrial capacity kind of thing is difficult for most nations. And if you have a small country that's run by a dictator, or something like that, these kind of large scale infrastructure projects tend to be really, really hard to do, which is why I think you could see America or countries with like very mature economies and lots of know-how, maybe China, could accelerate in this way, right? Like the volcano thing. Yeah, that could work. It could work really well, but do they have the know-how and the all that infrastructure and bureaucracy to get it working? I highly doubt it. But you take a look at like America, we do have quite a bit of that. Probably not as good as China right now, but we could become very dominant in this Bitcoin mining, because our energy infrastructure is so mature, and I think that's a real possibility. And also, I think that's been shown in Texas that this helps renew and update existing old energy infrastructure, because you get this like fresh influx of capital and profits and stuff. So I think it'll do really well. It could do really well in a country like America. Smaller countries like Japan or South Korea or something like that, they can do a good job too, but they're tiny countries. They don't produce that much energy, right?
Wouldn't
So
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Japan, I mean, prior to Fukushima, I assume they still got some nuclear reactors online. Couldn't they just plug a
yeah,
few S21s into
well,
those bad boys and start cranking out some corns?
not really. They Japan, what they did is after Fukushima, they turned off like I think 75% of their, or they put them into low power mode, like 75% of their nuclear facilities, and then after COVID, and after all this like geopolitical dislocation and energy stuff that's been going on, they've had to like turn these reactors back on. But power
Low power
consumption
mode,
here,
eh? That's like the
yeah,
that's the theme for Japan in the last decade, man.
yeah. Well, it's like for example, last summer, um, they had to like ask people not to use their air conditioner, right? Because they
What?
didn't have the
Don't
electrical
there's like
capacity,
when I
like
was living in
California.
Japan, dead people were like, or people were dying all the time from like the heat in the summer. All these old people would just be like, flopping dead
It
in
happens every year.
their
Can I
little
just
It
say
happens
that?
every year.
matchbox apartments.
Can I just say that one of the theories with adding a lot of Bitcoin mining to your energy grid is that it enables you to be profitable, your grid, your power plants to be profitable because you've got this buyer of electricity. And then when you have an extreme condition like a heat wave or cold snap, the Bitcoin miners, unlike anyone else who draws power from the electricity, the Bitcoin miners can just turn off. So you've got that high capacity that people are paying for under normal conditions. Then when it's needed, the Bitcoin miners turn off and the economy can function as normal. Steel plants don't
Yeah,
have
So
to turn
I
off.
guess
Right.
is this
that's right.
there's an economic incentive to turn off because rates jump up, or
Exactly.
is this a government intervention of you shut your damn machines off?
It
We
could
got to
be.
get people's air conditioner back
So
on.
in
It's
Texas,
both.
I heard it was
It's
economic.
both.
It was a both. Okay.
Because I mean, the thing about a power grid is, I went into this pretty deeply a couple of years ago because I found it fascinating. But a power grid can't have electricity fluctuate more than like a 1 or 2%, and if it does more than that, you'll start to have like rolling brownouts and blackouts. So if you build in capacity, um, that capacity has to be on no matter what, you know? And so there's a lot of inefficiency, a ton of inefficiency in any power grid because you have to basically build capacity up to where you think it's going to peak, but you don't usually reach peak capacity usage, right? But you have to have the ability to get there because if like in the hottest part of the day it spikes for a couple hours, you have to be able to service that, or it'll cause these rolling brownouts. And so yeah, having something like Bitcoin, which is happy to just soak up all the excess capacity, making the grid a lot more efficient because the work is being used for something, and then when there are any peaks, they can just instantly turn it off within like a second or two. It makes it a lot more efficient.
Yeah. I always thought that this argument was a stretch, but it seems like it's made it into, I mean, Trump's using the phrase, so it seems like it's made it into the mainstream. And also I've noticed that this cycle, as opposed to last cycle, I haven't heard anything about how Bitcoin mining is boiling the oceans. Maybe that's just because we haven't like hit like retail interest yet or
I
mainstream.
think there is also, I don't know, like the narrative of Bitcoin is dirty. I feel like it got kind of played out the last cycle, and since then, I don't know. Maybe this is just my perception of the current zeitgeist. Nobody gives a shit. I think people kind of moved on from like, oh, Bitcoin's a bit dirty. Who gives a shit? You know, we shouldn't do it because now you got like AI, just cranking out GPU power. Same thing. So now
Right.
it's not. There's more industries now that have increased the demand for power consumption that they can't single out Bitcoin or crypto as like a sole cause to all of our energy problems. It's like, no, we're just the human civilization is growing. The economy is growing. There's new industries that are emerging that demand more power. and the failing grid, or the grid from that was built by our boomer parents and grandparents, it's dog shit, and maybe we need to upgrade it. Maybe we need more, progressive energy consumption experts to kind of figure this thing out. Not like, and I say progressive in the sense of like forward thinking for energy consumption, not progressive in the sense of like turn off all power and let's return to like tribal, leaf skirts and that nonsense.
Corbin, don't you think though that this is just a general trend in the world? Like ESG seems to be losing a lot of its luster.
Yeah,
right?
I think it had its moment, and I think
Yeah.
like the
I think it's going.
it's like the Overton windows kind of shifted towards, let's get the economy going. Let's, inflation sucks. We want more jobs. And I think when you have that added demand for growth, you can't have this added demand for ESG cuckoldry.
Yeah. I mean, EV sales are down, I'm pretty sure. ICE car sales are up. So, and then people are like, yeah, what's more important, my job and feeding my family, or, making another windmill with parts that have to be replaced every couple years and don't produce that much power when it's needed. I don't know, man.
All right, let's change the topic here for a minute, because I want to talk about CBDCs for a minute, which is another thing that Trump mentioned in his latest speeches here. He said that Bitcoin mining may be our last line of defense against the central bank digital currency, CBDC. So Trump is positioning himself as the anti-CBDC candidate. And I wanted to hear your opinions. Is this whole CBDC debate about to heat up? Is support for CBDCs going to be seen as something that is like for totalitarian regimes like China, or nanny state regimes like the EU? Meanwhile, freedom-loving nations in the US, like the US, will be seen as the ones who are pushing it back against this. Is that what we're about to see here?
I think America basically already has a CBDC, right? I think the US dollar is, for all intents and purposes, a CBDC, right? And for that reason, I don't think that America will have what we would consider like a blockchain-based CBDC anytime soon. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever, because they already have one, right? You rattle off any benefit or like technological underpinnings of a CBDC, and you could fit that onto how the dollar works now in the world. And
let's zoom out. Like what are the things that scare everyone about CBDCs? It's what, like the Big Brother tracking. It's the ability
Panopticon.
It's the panopticon of like, we can see everything you're doing. We can force you to spend money that you don't want to spend. We can demand that you increase your consumerism. We can shut off your account at any moment. That sounds like the government already. That's what Canada's been doing since COVID. Like they're doing all this stuff without the on-chain blockchain, circle jerk of CBDCs. I think that whole narrative is kind of like a WHO, I don't know, man, like red herring or something. I think it gets people angry and hot and forces them to not realize that they already live in the panopticon. If you have inside money, you're tracked, man. And when I say inside money, I'm talking like who was it? I think Balaji was talking about that. Like if you've got money, like if you've got wealth in the banking system, that's the inside money. If you got, say real estate, that's considered, I guess, kind of outside money, in the sense that you've got some wealth that's not directly seizable by the banks, at least in the event of a bank run. In theory, that title is worth something. It's kind of off chart. And then, of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum, things like that are definitely.
Yeah, but those are all tracked though now.
Yeah,
right? Like Bitcoin is absolutely a completely tracked asset.
Oh, without a doubt. But I think it does at least give you the opportunity to obfuscate. And for sure, there are, at least once you're outside the system, you then have the opportunity to go from one system to another system, i.e. going from Bitcoin to Monero or Ethereum to Zano, or you've now escaped the panopticon. You're still for sure able to be seen by the Eye of Sauron, but you aren't able to be completely seized, let's say, in the same. You're not going to have your bank account shut down, your Ethereum account shut down, unless you're like on a hosted wallet, like an exchange or something like that.
What they did do in Canada is they shut down, they seized, they froze bank accounts that were connected to Bitcoin donation accounts, which is insane.
True.
That's just absolutely
totally
crazy.
Insane. Yeah, but yeah, I think the general vibe though is that the panopticon already exists. If you're, I mean, really, anyone touching the traditional financial system is in it. It's just the CBDC narrative allows you to kind of take the stance that I don't want the CBDC. I want the old system. The old system's completely fine. But in reality, the old system is also what's completely, jamming you good.
I will say this. What I was going to say is, so America's system is the most mature and the most technologically advanced. It has kind of all the what's it called, features that CBDC based systems are saying that they can provide. And I think that where a CBDC will be, where you will see it a lot is in countries that don't already have that deep infrastructure. And so, like China has it now. And then any little country, any little dictatorship can spin up a CBDC really quickly, and they can have all the surveillance and controls that first world mature economies have been enjoying for the past 20 or 30 years.
They can speed run their own panopticon. So it's like you're giving them the ability to drive the car in a different way that they previously, I'm sure you look at Nigeria, they're like, man, we got to fix our currency. That CBDC thing and being able to drive the car in a different way might give us more control to fix this situation.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like how developing countries skipped landlines and went straight to mobile.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking of, Graham. That's exactly what I was thinking of. Yeah.
All right. Let's move on from CBDCs and let's talk about our main discussion here today, which is merchant adoption. But first, I'd like to tell everyone about Bitcoin.com's first NFT collection, Verse Voyagers, which we're happy to report has sold out. We sold out all 10,000 of these Verse Voyagers, which are these very cool NFTs that live on the Polygon blockchain. You can re-spin traits in order to customize your Verse Voyager. And although the 10,000 NFT collection has minted out, you can pick up a Voyager still on OpenSea. And it looks like the floor is above the sale price by about double. So get in soon before it pumps even higher.
The NFT market pumping is that'll be like the most shocking thing that would happen in my opinion. Like NFTs, maybe there's still an opportunity there for like the general I don't know.
You're not
some
convert,
NFTs.
Corbin?
Man, I don't know. I think I'm like I trade the trend,
Did you get burned? Have you been?
I wouldn't say I was like a huge NFT bag holder, but I definitely have wallets that have way too many NFTs that are just they're an illiquid asset. So to me, if anyone's buying NFTs and treating them in the same way that you would treat like buying Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other like blue chip crypto, you name it, they're much less liquid assets. So like how many people are actually looking to buy a JPEG versus sell a JPEG? There might be like at any moment in time, a few dozen people, I'm not to say that like that this NFT collection won't do well. It's ours. It's going to be great, everyone. But it's like, it's a collectible. Like,
I think it's more than a collectible, because when we launched this collection a month ago or something, we had more than we've had until now community activity. We have people like excited about it, right? We're built like half the people in our community have this NFT as their profile picture. People are like identifying about it. People are excited about it,
and that's great.
So
but
that's
it's
that's
I
the
think,
real power of it. I think.
I
is
agree.
the community building aspect of it, right?
Yeah, the social aspect.
Yeah, I think the NFT side of stuff is completely great for the community building and for just kind of like vibes. It's a vibe. But I think like anyone who's kind of in chat saying, when's my NFT going to pump? Why is it 10% down? Who's going to sweep the floor? Like these were some of the things that you'd hear in the last cycle about NFTs. And, it was sad to see, because the reality is that, like, man, you go into the Rolex market, or you go into like I don't know, man, like even like people trading physical gold. It's a much less liquid asset than property, houses, man. Like
real estate
in general. It's very hard to buy and sell real estate. It's not an efficient market. NFTs are, by their nature, not an efficient market. And I think that's why so many of the most degenerate crypto people that started off with like NFTs, like memes were originally like NFTs. And it was like, hey, you can have a unique meme and it's going to be great. But then the meme coiners just kind of said like, maybe we don't need the NFT. What if we just launch it as a ERC20 and just skip the whole NFT bit? And now you've got meme coin season. So I do think that, I don't know, like if you just look at the trend, OpenSea volume in general has been down, month over month since the last NFT cycle. So am I bullish on NFTs? Not exactly. I think the technology behind them is cool, and they will be useful, and there will be collections and different utilities that might reinvigorate that side of things. But will it ever get back to manic, monkey JPEG trading? Keep in mind, like all of the hype of NFT art was also pre-AI art. So you do have to wonder how much of the value was tied to interesting, cool art. But now the interesting, cool art has been commoditized by DALL-E 4 or like these GPT stable fusions and like different, I don't know, AI art tools.
Well, Corbin, I respectfully disagree.
Okay.
No. I mean, I think you're right on a lot of points. Like, NFTs have been down only since last cycle. Meme coins have taken the place of that kind of casino, get rich, speculative fervor kind of thing. And maybe meme coins will never relinquish that, because they seem like a much, as you said, a much more efficient, more liquid way of achieving that kind of lottery system. I do think, though, just in terms of a risk and reward, for me, I'm thinking about this. NFTs have been beaten down so hard, and they continue to, that they're starting to look a little. Starting to look like it might be a decent time to pay attention to them. Maybe they'll keep going down, but I think maybe we're getting close to the point where they're starting to bottom out. Later this cycle, I expect them to pump pretty bigly.
I want to add something here, because the last cycle I was the biggest NFT skeptic. I thought it was all hot garbage. And this cycle, I finally I got my first NFTs, right? And it's
you've been more active than me.
As soon as I got one, I got it immediately. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I like this thing. Like it.
Yeah, they're fun. I like
right?
Without a doubt, they're fun. I think when you start minting them, especially when you got some gamification where it's like. Like our NFT minting, and you can buy a unminted or an unspun NFT on these OpenSea, but you can buy a spun one as well, and you can pay in Verse and actually respin your traits, which is like this cool, I don't know what you'd call it, like a casino, one-armed bandit kind of. It's fun. But like that random thing of like, drawing cards. Like, do you remember when you're kids and you buy the Pokemon card pack and you open it and you're like, oh my God, I got the thing I was wanting. It's a cool feeling. And in that sense, I think that NFTs will always be a thing, especially if you do have, creative people creating different collections about different themes and designs and memes and whatever. Yeah. So fun is, I think, critical for, the utility of NFTs and the longevity of NFTs.
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing, which is that like the first NFT I bought this cycle, I'm buying it because I want to make money on it, right? It's speculative. But as soon as I bought it, I was like, wait a minute, I don't actually really want to sell this. I like identified with it right away. So what did I do? I bought another one in the same collection with the intention of, okay, this is the one I'm going to sell.
I'm going to dump this
at the Pico top.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold this one, right? So I don't know. Maybe
That's
I'm just
good.
a simpleton. Definitely.
Future bag holder.
Yeah. So let's move on here. Let's talk about merchant adoption. So, David, are you gonna tee up this discussion for us, or
do you want me to drive?
Yeah.
I can share my screen here if you.
Okay.
If you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you got to unshare yours though, and there we go. Where are we at here? Let's try that. Bada bing, bada boom. Pulled up Thai massage. I actually went here and paid in crypto here, guys. This is a great place. I'm gonna shill Erewhon Thai massage in Roppongi. They walk on your back and crack your
I was
neck
about to ask that. Yeah.
Yeah. I had like a foot issue where I was you're walking around in Tokyo all the time. And then I don't know, I just like progressively got this like foot pain for like a long time. And I told the lady, I got something weird with my foot, if you're down there beating things up, see what you can do to that area. And then at some point she cracked this like bone in the middle of my foot that I'd never had it cracked before. And immediate like, just peace, just bliss. And was able to walk around like a champ in Tokyo again. It was great. But so I guess maps.bitcoin.com or map.bitcoin.com either gets you there. Basically allows anyone to track what merchants in their nearby area are accepting Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Verse, or just general crypto. We've had Bitcoin.com maps kicking around since 2019, somewhere around there for quite a while. But it's been growing, month over month. We've added more coins to it, just like we've added more coins to our wallet. But it's an easy way for anyone to just kind of search in their neighborhood, or if you plan on traveling and you want to try to use some crypto, it's a great opportunity for you to just kind of see what's in the nearby area. Maybe you can find a Thai massage place or a pizza place or a coffee joint or whatever, and you can find these different areas that accept different cryptocurrencies.
We have 35,000 listings last I saw.
Boom.
Yeah, it's mental. And by category here, actually, I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but you can see in terms of like the dominant listings right now are ATMs and like vending machines. So people that have, like these Bitcoin ATMs, you can go deposit your Bitcoin and get cash, or you can pay in cash and then get Bitcoin. Now, depending on where you go, always make sure you check the fees, make sure that, you do a little bit of homework and stuff like that, because some of these ATMs can actually have some pretty high fees. But it's a great way if you don't have access, to being able to buy Bitcoin through your wallet app, or you're having trouble with, centralized exchanges and KYC and stuff like that. You can go to these ATMs. They do sometimes, I think most of them do now, require KYC, so you still need to show some sort of identification. But it's a great way for you to just pay some cash. I think there's still some out there that don't require it, but I'm guessing anywhere in the US,
smaller.
Yeah, man. I think there was some that were being operated without KYC, and I recall one of the ATM operators going to jail. So I think most of the ATM operators were like, maybe we got to install some webcams on these and ask people for a little, photo thing.
I mean, local Bitcoins is gone, so what do you expect?
Yeah, man. Everything's changing. The world's changing, man. But across different categories, these are kind of the big ones. I'd love to see these numbers, keep going. I think to me, this is still like the big opportunity for Bitcoin, crypto, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, just everything. Like, it's great that we have all these cool DeFi things and NFTs and lending, borrowing protocols, but like there is something very pure about saying, F you to the fiat currencies, the panopticon, the inside money, and being like, I'm just going to live outside of the system. Being able to hold some money in your wallet or some crypto in your wallet and being like, I can use this. I can go for dinner. I can take my wife out on a date night. I can pay for groceries. There's something quite pure and nice about that. That
All
I
right,
think,
guys, I have a question
kind of
to
need.
tee this up, Corbin.
Hmm.
What is the most expensive thing you've bought with crypto?
Like directly or indirectly?
Directly.
Probably flights, like flights and hotels. I think that's kind of the main one,
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Travala, by the way, which you can get, which is accessible from the wallet. Next time I buy a flight, I'm definitely using that.
Did you use Travala, Corbin?
I think it was Travala, and then I think Cheap Flights also uses.
That's right.
Accepts crypto, so I've done both there. I know that there are some shops in Tokyo that do luxury watches and like luxury goods like that accept crypto. They take Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and maybe a couple other stables and stuff like that. But I do recall seeing Roger purchase a very expensive watch that was going to be, I think it got auctioned off for crypto, and it was like a very expensive in Tokyo. And nice. I think there's a video of it somewhere on YouTube where he purchases this. And it's a high value purchase. That's just like you go into a shop and you're like, all right, here's, I don't know, 25 grand or something like that. And here's the watch, and that's kind of it. Right. But it is cool to think that there's like this peer-to-peer merchant capabilities going on around the world, that it's outside of the system, man. And I think there's something kind of pleasant and nice about that. I think if you go to maps.bitcoin.com, you'll see that we've got a whole bunch of like different hotspots. Like Japan's one of the hotspots. There's a lot of places, accepting Bitcoin Cash. Australia is another big one that's a Bitcoin Cash hotspot. But then you go to places like El Salvador, you'll see a lot more BTC locations. US as well, you'll often see a little bit more of the BTC ATMs and stuff like that. Some of them are like BTC and BCH and ETH, and they're like multi-coin ATMs and stuff like that. But it's kind of a cool way to just kind of dig around and see what's nearby. Yeah, kind of a fun thing. I think like the whole utility of crypto does depend on this. And the only way that you do get this peer-to-peer capability is with like a somewhat low fee coin. Like nobody's going to want to spend their Bitcoin when it's $50 fees, right? Ethereum,
and it's 10-minute fees. Transaction time.
Yeah. Like, and like, I think that's still one of the biggest selling points for Bitcoin Cash is that there's this culture of accepting zero conf. There's this, they've got double spend proofs as well baked into different software. They've got, just it's a fast, reliable, low fee chain, and I think that's why you still see it being used the most. In terms of like real merchants, I think BTC has a stronger number here due to the ATM vending machines. But if you filter out the ATM vending machines, BCH becomes actually the dominant like merchant accepting cryptocurrency, which is kind of interesting.
Let's talk about the accounting problem here, because for me, that's the thing that's kind of stopping me from using it. Because if I'm going to buy, I think of my cryptocurrencies as investments. And so if I'm going to buy something with a crypto, I need to like replace that. So let's say I buy something with BCH for $500. What I would want to do is then buy $500 of BCH. So it just becomes like, otherwise, like I'm trying to think about how my investments work, right? And so and then there's tax implications as well when you're because buying something, spending something is considered a sale. So it seems like this is a huge barrier. Doesn't crypto peer-to-peer payments have to be with a stable coin for it really to take off?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean
know.
that's
I'll
one of
jump
the
in.
things driving it so just to pull back, uh, crypto adoption has kind of accelerated in the past 3 or 4 years, right?
Merchant adoption,
Kind of
yeah.
following, yeah, crypto merchant adoption, and it kind of follows just the utility of crypto in general. And uh, one of the biggest disadvantages from the merchant perspective of crypto was the price volatility, right? And you saw this with a lot of merchants in like 2017, and then after the run up in 2017, a lot of merchants like Microsoft and Tesla, I think, and a bunch of other like headline merchants, they started accepting crypto. But then when it crashed after in 2018, they all were like, "Oh, forget this. This is way too volatile. We have to have all these things in place so that we can sell it immediately." And they were just like they just stopped. And
Yeah.
then yeah, so stable coins have kind of stepped into, and you see that in crypto in general, the importance of stable coins have kind of stepped in. And now all of these big name merchants and stuff, Microsoft and all of them, have kind of come back, because I think that they can easily get in and out of these volatile positions.
Yeah, my take on that though is that it's a very cucked way to use crypto. Like if you're using stable coins, like I mean, like stable coins to me are they fulfill a need when the market volatility is such that you want more stability and you just move into stable coins. You swap from Bitcoin back to like USDT. But I'm typically not holding a ton of stable coins. Maybe some people are. So like if I'm spending stable coins, why wouldn't I just spend my like my fiat, you know? So to me, if you're trying to promote this idea of spending crypto, it's spending like real crypto, not spending a one-to-one or supposed one-to-one pegged, stablecoin version of it. But I do think that like
But
Graham does have a point. Like there are problems with that it's like added friction that I think they're problems that the communities of different blockchains are going to try to solve in different ways. Like I think there's like one friction point is like the blockchain scalability. You need low fees in order to make this an attractive opportunity for people to spend it and for merchants to receive it, where it's quick, it's efficient, it's low fee for both users. Then there's the immediate need for like merchants that are risk off. They are going to want some immediate capability to go from crypto back into whatever their boomer tradfi fiat currency is. So like an instant settlement or somewhat instant settlement to say you got paid 100 sol, it's going into Canadian dollars or whatever, because some merchants just want to have that inside money. They don't really care. They're just looking for people, I guess. Then there's the people problem of like the dual-sided market. You need sufficient people walking around with actual crypto in their phones, on a wallet, a hot wallet that they can actually use. Then you also have the problem of like the merchant problem of, well, do they have the software to actually accept this? Do they accept all cryptocurrencies, or do they just accept one? Because I would say that's another pain point is you could have a great merchant network, but if they only accept Bitcoin Cash and you don't hold any Bitcoin Cash, well, you might not use it. You might be like, I've only got ETH right now, so I'd have to swap into BCH in order to spend with it. I'll just use my credit card, But it's a bunch of these like little friction points that do make it more difficult. But I think it's like important for Bitcoiners and cryptocurrency advocates to maintain these merchant lines, because I do feel like in the event of global financial crisis, these lines of trade may be the best lines of trade for people in a hyperinflation moment. If there's I don't know, wars going on, you might be like, I don't really want to deal with this fiat. I'd rather take the volatility of Bitcoin or Ethereum or Bitcoin Cash or some other random alt and maybe try to use that instead and try to hedge things. But yeah.
yeah, I mean, I understand those points. I think I'm just thinking about it from the merchant perspective, and most merchants, they they're agnostic about what the medium of exchange is. They just want it to. They have to buy supply, and then they have to sell it. And if in between that process, the medium has lots of volatility, that's really bad from a merchant perspective. And it, irrespective of whatever it is, gold, dollars, or Bitcoin.
Unless your merchant happens to be a Bitcoiner or like a cryptocurrency advocate, where they're willing to accept that volatility. But that will always mean that
because they have to keep buying more supply. So if the price suddenly goes down like 5, 10, 20%, and then they have to buy new supply next week, they're going to be hosed, right?
I think that's why most of the current merchants are somewhat open to the idea of cryptocurrency, because they do so few transactions. There's not a ton of there's not a ton of trade activity going on across all crypto with this peer-to-peer cash mentality. So if you're a merchant and you're selling, I don't know, cat food, and you're only doing like 5 crypto transactions per month, well, your profit margin from the fiat amount might be enough that you can eat that, and that allows you to actually take a position in crypto, let's say. But the economies of scale start getting a little bit weird there, where you potentially have, let's say, half of your transactions start coming in selling cat food, but they're paid in crypto. Then you do have this like problem where your margins might not be sufficient to cover that cost or something like that of the volatility and of the off ramp fees and things like that.
I think it has to be said that one of the advantages of accepting crypto is that you're saving basically 3%, because that's what merchants get charged for accepting credit card payments, and that's pretty significant. So it's a real incentive, assuming the fees are low, right, on the crypto.
Yeah, and I think we didn't address Graham's point on, like, some people just treat crypto as an investment, and why would they want to spend their investment? I saw this in 2018. There was a couple apps that were doing something called spend and replace.
I accidentally hit the stop button, guys. But
I was wondering what that is.
We might the last part of the show might be. I thought I was hitting my mic off, but sorry about that, guys.
It's all good.
We're almost at the end of the show.
I would say. I mean, I think that, to me, that this issue is more of a mental framing issue. I don't know. Like, when I've spent crypto to buy different things, I know that I need to. So I mean, because like if I'm going to go buy a plane ticket, for example, so I'm gonna drop $5,000 to get my pay for my family to fly somewhere. So I either can get that from my bank account, right, or credit card, or I can just pay in some crypto that I have. But then it's fairly easy to put that $5,000 and buy new crypto again if I really want to, if I really need to. I don't know. I feel like it's just. Do
you guys know about Gresham's law?
I've heard of that. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So I'll read you the Wikipedia. So Gresham's law, it says, in economics, Gresham's law is a monetary principle stating that bad money drives out good. For example, if there are 2 forms of commodity money in circulation, which are accepted by law as having similar face value, the more valuable commodity will gradually disappear from circulation. So the law was named in 1857 by economist Henry Dunning MacLeod after Sir Thomas Gresham, an English financier during some the Tudor dynasty. So I think what the Bitcoiners often say is that due to Gresham's law, people will always naturally spend their softer currency. Softer currency meaning like your US dollars, your Canadian dollars, your New Zealand dollars, or whatever. And then you're going to save the more valuable money, the one that's perceived as more valuable. And I think there may be an existing framework where people are just feeling like crypto is more valuable, and they treat it, kind of like Graham said, as more of an investment. and they don't necessarily want to spend it. But I do think that there are ways to bypass that, like, I don't know, human heuristic of I want to preserve the thing I value more and spend the thing that I value less. I think you can bypass that by holding more. If you only hold the valuable currency, or you're much more committed to that than you are keeping some sort of balanced portfolio. Like if you're all in, you stop giving a shit, which is, for me, I that's kind of my stance. I don't really care when I spend crypto because I'm so all in. But for someone who's like only putting on $100 of, US dollars into Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or Ethereum once a week, I get why they might not be like so eager to spend it, because it's a pain in the ass to get. And then sometimes there's some high fees to go purchase it. But
Yeah,
I think this
I
is where
agree.
this like whole economic loop does need to kind of be I don't know, you do need to reframe your brain, but also being paid in crypto seriously helps. Doing jobs where you're getting paid in crypto does, I think, provide you with more of the, say, more valuable asset. But it also, I think, gives you the ability to spend it kind of more freely because you know you have more coming in later. And you just treat that next paycheck as another dollar cost average event.
There is another aspect to this, which I won't go too hard into, but for example, privacy, right? Like if you buy things with your credit card or through your bank account, you're in 100% government surveillance land, and everything about it is tracked and everything like that. But if you buy something through a privacy based coin like Monero or Xano, that to me is a huge benefit of absolutely wanting to use the crypto to instead of instead of fiat, and perhaps I've done that in the past, right? Like, favoring very good privacy over completely showing your ass to the government.
Yeah, I think not showing assholes to the government is always a nice thing. I think like there are technical innovations that do make this easier to do without having to go full privacy, where you don't have to like be like, all right, I got to go swap into this privacy coin and now figure that out. But like, granted, I would say Monero does have a very strong community of spenders. Like there's a lot of advocates of like, use
Yeah, they
your
do.
crypto,
Yeah.
more so than a lot of other blockchain communities. But one thing that was coming across somewhat recently, this is from 2021, but reusable payment addresses, or RPAs, kind of an interesting idea, and it's applicable to any UTXO chain. So like this tech isn't like extremely new or novel. It's just something that can be applied on Litecoin or Dogecoin or Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin or Litecoin or whatever else. But the idea though is that a merchant would have this like, how does this work? It's like almost like a holding address. You could almost think of it as like a VPN address, where it's like you send it to this address, but it's actually going somewhere else. And to the end user, they can't spy on the merchant. Like right now, if you go to most merchants that are accepting crypto, and they'll often just be using the same address. So they'll be using a single, say, Bitcoin Cash address. And you go scan that Bitcoin Cash address, you have, as the spender, as the buyer of the cat food, you can go look at that merchant and see like how much cat food they've been selling. I mean, you can't tell it's cat food, but you can say like, okay, how much volume is this merchant doing? How much money have they made in crypto? And for merchants, they might not like that. If you're a private enterprise or a private company, you might be like, I don't really want everyone to know how much we're making. This is private information. It doesn't need to be shared. And that's where these reusable payment addresses come in. They can offer some privacy, where it makes it a little bit more difficult for a wallet spender to go snoop on the merchant. Yeah.
Yeah, also on the customer side too. Like, I mean, this is why I am a huge advocate of privacy coins, and I think it's tech that we need now. And like, if, for example, if I send money to, you or Graham to pay for a meal, you can just as easily like put my address in a scanner, right, in a blockchain scanner, and see how much money I have in my account, right? Like it's a very private thing, And so having just like some of these basic privacy features, I think, is really, really important for kind of mass adoption. And I think
absolutely necessary.
it's absolutely necessary. You can't have that.
No.
It's way
I
too.
I shared an address with you yesterday, David, and I was like, I don't want to do this.
So whenever I do that,
Yeah.
Graham, I have a couple of like throwaway addresses.
Yeah. It's hard to manage all that, right? Yeah.
It is hard. It's a pain in the ass to manage it. I have to, but yeah, I mean, so we need this privacy tech, and we need privacy coins, like being used by most people now.
I think
important.
there's definitely a drive for better privacy coins and more innovation in that space. You've got guys like Xano. We're doing a farm with them over on Verse DEX. So if you go to verse.bitcoin.com, you can actually farm some wrapped Xano. Now the wrapped Xano is not private, but you can unwrap it and turn it into the private version, which is quite cool. But I think this need for complete privacy is going to be asked and expected more and more, especially if and when the government starts clamping down more and more. I would say in the event that we don't get a pro-crypto candidate in charge of the US, privacy coins are going to be much more sought after. Like, people are getting nervous, and a lot of people don't want to turn their crypto back into fiat, but they don't want to be penalized or punished or taxed or, abused or bullied simply for just being a crypto user. And it does certainly sometimes feel like that with the current administration, let's say. Go to Xano.org. That's my shill for the day. They've got tokens
one shout out
on
to
their,
Xano.
Yeah.
One more shout out to Xano is so one feature that I like Xano, several features that they do that I think make it more practical than like Monero. Monero is just like ultra privacy, right? But Xano allows for kind of compliance based privacy, as you were saying. So if you're a business, it's conceivable that governments are going to be like, you can't accept Monero. You just can't, because we need some information about who's on the other end, and that governments are well within the right to do that to a certain extent. So I totally understand that. But Xano has privacy, kind of like privacy layers built in, so third parties can't look at the transaction. They can't tell anything about it, just like you would have in Monero. But it allows, if you allow it, the receiver or the sender or both to kind of opt in to some visibility. And so that would allow merchants like Microsoft, for example, to accept very, very like a much better privacy than like ETH or some EVM based stablecoin. And so one of the people can't see into the transaction, but then they can do compliance with the government.
Yeah. I think being able to play both sides is smart, and I think that's probably a good strategy for any privacy coin, because you do kind of want to get I don't know, you want people to actually find you. And
I think Monero's days are numbered.
It's tricky. Yeah. Well, I think the
Monero's
coolest thing,
be done. Yeah.
Like, so I've been playing around with Xano for a while. They're confidential assets. Like, they've got tokens on Xano. So to me, that seems like the most interesting opportunity, where you could have stable coins on a privacy chain, and then you've got this like completely closed loop. You could remain completely private. You can do perhaps all of those things that you might do on Ethereum in terms of like trading and swapping and LPing. Of course, their tech is not EVM, so it's going to be much different. But the fact that you can live within a singular ecosystem privately, and being able to kind of hedge versus volatility using stablecoins or using some form of like stable asset that maybe is not tied to the US dollar, maybe it's tied to something else, does become much more interesting, I think, from potential future narratives in the event of a, say, global panopticon, let's say.
Yep. I just like to say last thing on this topic, because I have loved Monero from like 2017. I absolutely love it. But I think that I think governments are going to just basically try to ban it outright. I think it's gonna be pushed far to the side, which is a terrible travesty, but I think that's what's going to happen, and you can already kind of see it. So you're going to have to.
Yeah, I think if and when that does happen, though, it's just going to embolden their base. You know, like the people that are already in are going to be even more in.
Yeah,
because it's just going to feed into that narrative of like, this is why we need it more than ever. You know,
I hope so. Yeah.
All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Please do my show and tell. I really like this thing that I said, the big Bitcoin rally. I want to hear your guys' thoughts.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Do you mind?
X.
To show the graph.
Yeah. All right, got it. This graph.
Yeah.
Let's zoom in.
Oh, this
is this the super cycle, David?
No. This is a prediction of when this year we're going to get the big monster exponential face melting rally.
The green
candles. This account, yeah, and this account is a really, really good account. The Mad King. Shout out to the Mad King. I really like him and his macro stuff. But basically, it's showing from a historical perspective up to now when we have Bitcoin kind of outperformance, and it's showing that later in the year, as you can see, kind of from like September to October, you start to see some big movements. We had it early in the year. The black bar is 2024, but the middle of the year, this kind of spring to summer area tends to be weaker. So
can you zoom in more, Graham?
Hold on.
Enhance. Yeah, now we're talking.
That's the most I can get it.
Yeah.
So the red bars are the average. The what color is that? Turquoise. Cyan are median, and the orange is average halving year. So we're in a halving year. So you would expect that we get similar to these ones.
Yeah, and you can see the black bar. We did really well in February, but then March and April. Look at April down. May, June, July will probably kind of be flat. So
ranging in here, and then boom, boom, boom towards the end of the year is the prediction.
I personally think there's a lot of merit to this because you combine it with the fact that we're in a presidential year, U.S. presidential year, November. I feel like the Dems are going to want to juice the hell out of the economy right into November. So like September, October.
So pressure's going back on.
Oh yeah, I can imagine Janet Yellen and Powell being kind of elbowed to.
They're talking about
unleash the beast.
Yeah.
Didn't Canada just cut rates?
Canada did.
Yeah, and I think what's her name? Warren was quoting or referring to Canada as like, look, they're cutting rates. Why isn't the Fed cutting rates?
So
don't you guys love America?
So what do you guys think? Do you think September, October, monster rally?
I mean, I guess here's a question for you guys. Are you actively buying more crypto right now? Are you guys buying or holding more?
I've got some dry powder that I'm waiting to deploy.
Me too.
So I'm mostly in crypto.
Yeah, I think most people I speak to, and maybe again, I just the industry we live in, but everyone I know is still buying. I'm still buying. I'm still I don't see any reason not to right now. I mean, like, once you're in the space long enough, you certainly do get comfortable with the down 5-10% days. You're like, whatever. If I'm buying it over the long term, over a few years, is what it is. This is a buying opportunity. It's on sale. That's where I always see myself leading. But I like guys that read tea leaves and spell it out with nice charts. That maybe there's more hope here. Because there are days for sure where you're like, God, am I an idiot? Like I hold a lot of crypto. Why am I all in when everything's down? And you're like, honey, we lost a lot of money today. It wasn't a good day for us. It sucks to have to say that. But then you have guys that spell it out with nice charts that say, well, there's hope. You autistic dum-dum who has probably too much skin in the game. You know, go have some fun. Keep going.
The way you just said that, Corbin, reminded me of trying to tell my wife about an NFT that we had that was like 5 figures. It's like, I've got this NFT. It's like $50,000. And she's like, what the hell are you talking about? No, honey.
Did you sell, David?
I sold way too late. Bag holding. Idiot.
What an idiot.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Burned.
Yeah.
Burned.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I like the idea of a fall cycle. That sounds nice. I don't know, man. I always take these charts with a grain of salt. I feel like even if you zoom out past the potential boom bust cycles of crypto, and you're just like, I don't know, if you're trading in the 10-year time frame, it does become a little bit of a different vibe than if you're trading in like the 2 to 3 year time frame, or even 1 year time frame, or like 1 month time frame. I think if you're like an active trader, life is pretty hard and stressful. But if you're just kind of like a passive investor and you're like, I like a few things, these are the things I like. I'm just slowly dollar cost averaging, I take some off the table when it rips. I buy some when it dumps. I try my best to just be cool. I've always found that to be like a better strategy, at least personally, than trying to day trade my way into riches, which rarely works unless you actually
also
goat.
We work in the industry. That's like a high beta play, right? Like you're buying crypto and then you're doubling down on that by working in the industry. So I mean, when we say we're all in, basically we are all in. It's not just that we are
actually,
bag holders.
funny you should mention that, David, because once I started working in crypto, I actually became a little more conservative. So
Me too.
I went a little bit more on the fiat side with my holdings, because I'm like, well, I should have some.
Yes, no, I agree.
Fallback.
I did the same. Yep.
Sounds like we got a couple betas.
Oh my god. No.
All right.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Let's wrap it up, gentlemen. I'm gonna thank you again for your insights. Thanks everyone for listening. I'm gonna play the outro song, and we'll see you guys next week on Token Narratives.
Thanks for hosting, Graham.
Yeah. See you later.
Yeah, man.
See you guys.